hunger inside all of us. This longing to awaken our truest selves. This hunger to feel truly free. This desire for love, truth, and freedom has driven us to never stop searching. We are a family. These are our stories, our questions, and our passions. So welcome to the conversation. Welcome to somewhere in the in-between.
Welcome, everyone,
to
our first
ever
podcast.
That's right.
Somewhere in the in-between.
And I think it's so funny that we chose to release a podcast or do our first podcast ever at the climate that we are in right now.
The world is
as
insanity.
a world and as just a country.
Our timing's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Yeah.
Chaotic times? Podcast time.
I think you all want to hear us talk.
Yes, to add to this. But I think what's so interesting is that we actually, the three of us, have found a lot of inspiration together in this time. And I feel like that's very interesting. Yeah. But I think it's because in the three of our journeys, we've allowed the chaos in our life, in relationships, in everything that we've gone through, business-wise, everything, to be one of our greatest teachers.
Yeah, because it can be.
Absolutely.
But it's a choice.
100%.
And that's even so many of our conversations over the last few years. That's what this is about.
Yes.
So I think when we kind of saw the world burning and America burning, we're like,
this
hey,
feels familiar.
Right?
I know this feeling.
So y'all know, we've been in this for years. These are our discussions. This is what we talk about. So I say let's just dive in today. Like let's just open up one of our conversations.
Right.
Because I think the three of us have found this beautiful, I mean, yes, we're family. So we, grew up together and all of that and lived near each other. But also this beautiful friendship where we've been able to come together and share anything without judgment, without kind of, I mean, maybe I've judged you guys, but at least I don't say it.
Like I judge you guys in my heart.
I mean,
a lot.
But it doesn't matter if it's in your heart.
No, no one sees that.
It only
but
matters
God.
if it's coming out my mouth.
Right. No, judgment in my heart is totally fine.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Do you hear that, everyone?
Yeah. Judge and
Lesson
judge often.
And number one.
Judge as much as you want, as long as nobody hears you.
But I think these are like the conversations we're constantly having together for years of like our chaos and our undoing and I just say let's just like dive in.
Let's do it.
And talk about that. I think you hit on it. Chaos can be the greatest teacher.
I know. I do want to hit on that about like when did we realize, like each of us, like when did each of us realize, wait a minute, what I'm feeling right now, this chaos that I'm going through.
Yeah.
What is coming out of me because of the chaos that I'm experiencing, the anxiety, the fear.
Yeah.
For me, literal vomiting because I was so anxious.
God.
Like I had so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's still one of those things that I work through and have to work on, but I have tools now. I have things because I went, wait a minute. This chaos that I'm feeling inside of me does not have to control my life.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't have to be something I struggle with daily and I'm never going to get over it. It was like, there was just this moment that I went, actually, I think I always knew I could be more powerful than those things, but I didn't know how.
Right.
I didn't know what to do. I was like, I know I shouldn't feel this anxious. I know I shouldn't be, my mind shouldn't be going, 10, I was going to say a mile a minute.
That fast?
That fast.
My
mind was ridiculous.
This girl on some supplements. She's got to slow that mind down.
Xanax for sure.
Mile
Oh my God.
a minute.
You heard it here, folks.
Mile a minute mind. Hashtag my mind. But I knew that I did not, because it caused me so much chaos. I went, there is something I can do about this. There are tools that I can get.
Yeah.
There are people that I can learn under, teachers that I can, meditations that I can do.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to be a victim of that chaos that was inside of me anymore,
Right.
or even the chaos that was going on around me, which then caused the anxiety, which
Right.
then caused those things. But it couldn't cause the anxiety if the anxiety wasn't already in me first.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not like if the chaos was going on around me, it's like, oh, it brought this anxiety out of me that I never had. No. That
Yeah.
anxiety was in me.
Yeah.
And it was my job to take ownership of it instead of being a victim of it and go, wait a minute. How can I navigate this in my life? And that's with everything. I'm just using anxiety as an example because that was a big one for me.
And by chaos can be anything. I think for all three of us, it was all
Right.
different kinds of things.
Right.
You know, we're throwing this word around loosely because I feel like we've been living in this place in
Absolutely.
this conversation for a while. But just to kind of break down what we mean by that, chaos can be anything from a stressful job to
A global pandemic.
Oh, what?
Where you're locked in your house forever.
and relationships,
relationships,
all of that.
broken
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
Chaos is anything as
Family relationships.
oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
it's anything circumstantial or even internal that kind of makes you go, I don't love that reaction. I don't love that, like you said, I don't love that I'm responding in anxiety. Yes, we had a really
Yeah.
stressful job,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to feel those feelings.
Right.
I wanted to be able to be at peace even in
Yes.
the midst of great chaos.
no matter what.
Right.
So I think it kind of begs the question is like, when did you guys know? When did you start noticing chaos in your life? When did you start being aware? What was it?
For me, it was getting so sick. I literally there was a shoot that I was on, and
Explain shoot for the people
Oh,
who don't know what you're talking about.
She's a hunter. Doesn't she look like a hunter?
She shoots wild game. You went on an elephant safari.
She brought some bison. Do people eat bison?
I feel like that's a thing.
I don't know. I'm a vegetarian. Do people eat bison?
Tell us about your.
that's my red
really?
meat of choice.
Oh my gosh, you were
is
so
bison.
vibing on
Yes,
that.
I know. You
Girl, I
felt
just
my soul.
Felt it. I just felt it. I felt the bison vibe.
Cool.
But there was just this year that everything came to the surface, and I was like, what is going on inside me, and what are these reactions that are coming out? I hate this. This is not who I am. Yeah. And then also just being on a couple different photo shoots where I literally couldn't even communicate what I needed or what needed to get done. I was like a mute. My brain would just like shut down.
Whoa.
And
Like in a stressful situation,
yes,
you couldn't.
I couldn't even so my business partner would be like, hey, can I help? Like you have the to-do list in your head. Can you share some of the stuff with me that I can relieve you of this? Wow. And I thought I was going to just burst out crying because I thought if I let one thing out of my mouth, I'm going to forget everything in my head. And I just I would snap at him. I would snap at our assistant. All of this stuff that I just getting to that point, especially on bigger shoots. Yeah. I was like, this is not the life that I want to be living. I'm at this point in my life where I'm doing the biggest stuff that I've ever probably will be doing. Yeah. And yet at the same time, I'm the most miserable I've ever been.
Wow. And you'd been doing photography for how many years at that point?
At that point,
you started young.
Yeah. I was probably 10 years, 11 years already in.
Wow.
And so to hit that point then, I was like, something's not right because, they always say, or, you realize that you hit this peak and you're like, oh, this is not at all where I thought I was going to be, especially internally. Yeah. And then a couple months later, I ended up getting so sick I couldn't get out of bed. The room was spinning, all of that. So I was like, this is the worst thing. And
was it from exhaustion?
Exhaustion. My body was just shutting down. But yeah, I think burnout. Yeah. And
did you feel like in those moments at those shoots, were you like, am I having a nervous breakdown? Like, what were you feeling?
Totally. Yes.
Was it scary almost of going like, what, or are you in almost like this fight or flight moments? You almost can't even.
Full fight or flight. It's actually even hard to remember back to that specific time, other than just the fact that, I had this moment where I just couldn't even communicate anymore.
Wow.
That's how much I was just in that. And that, I guess, would look like it's freeze. So
Totally.
you're in
Yeah,
full-blown
okay.
freeze mode where you just can't, even kind of interact, anything like that. And so at that point was then when I knew, I'm like, I'm going to die.
Right.
If I continue this. I had to cancel meetings. I felt like I was like letting my business partner down.
Wow.
And it was very recently after we had moved to LA. So I just the world crashed down around me. And because I didn't have the things around me to support me to kind of get out of that.
Yeah.
And when you're not in a safe space,
Yeah.
which I hadn't moved into a place yet, I was kind of couch surfing. So it just, that's when I knew I was in chaos.
Whoa.
It was the most chaotic time of
And
my
like
life.
all came to the surface
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But that stuff had been building.
Building.
But we all just kind of like go, I'll ignore that.
Yeah.
And you see little things come up along the way and you're like, no. That was fine.
Yeah.
That was, I was emotional. I didn't sleep well that night. You just make excuses for years.
And it becomes perpetual. So
Yeah.
the less that you sleep, the more stressed that you are.
totally.
The more that stressed you are, the less that you sleep.
Yeah.
It just becomes this cycle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And for me, I think I remember my age. I was like, I think I was 24. So 1,000 years ago. And I remember we were on the road. We were in Barlow Girl at the time. And I just remember feeling all of these things that I didn't know what to do with it. And there was just this chaos. Like I said before, there was the anxiety a lot. Like there was just, I was 17 when I got there, and it was when we got signed. And so I was really young. And so you're very young and learning how to process emotions and all that stuff. And, our parents did an amazing job at teaching us how to do that at a very early age. But still, I'm 17 with all these business people and
pressure.
under pressure and going on tour. And then
Pressure
all of a
of early
sudden
success.
I'm in photo shoots and then I'm on stage and then it's just all this pressure and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with the chaos. And I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do, but I think I need some type of therapy. I need something. I need someone to talk to. I need someone to help me figure out. I felt like there was this jumble going on inside my brain all the time and I didn't know what to do with things and I didn't know where to put things and I knew that peace was something I could have, but I didn't know how to get it because I didn't want to be in this constant chaos, but I didn't, and it's circumstantial. It's not like anything was abusive. It's not like anything like to that level. Like it was just like this everyday anxiety. It was and then on top of that, not sleeping. Sleeping on a bus, sleeping on a plane, sleeping and, getting not a lot of sleep. Plus, I was not eating well. I was drinking so much caffeine. So let's take that into account. There was so much caffeine happening.
the pizza or wings at the end of the night.
Gosh,
the
right? Bus food. And then it's oh no, there was so much. So dietary, that stuff has a lot to do with it. And it's the caffeine, the going to bed at 3 a.m. and then the chaos on top of it. And making, business decisions and then trying to be creative and all that stuff. And so there was just a lot of chaos. And I knew it was building up. But then around, I think it was when I was about 24 and I was like, I need therapy. I need a session. I need something. And it wasn't that talked about then or it was also very I was scared to do it because I'm
terrifying.
People,
Terrifying.
there was a small amount of people that knew who we were. And then it was oh my gosh, I'm going to have to talk to somebody because there's family issues. We were doing this as a family. So then there's family issues. I'm I don't want to talk about that. I don't, so there's a lot of
sit in
fear.
a session and talk about my sisters.
No.
And then it's going to get, I don't know.
And so then I think there was more anxiety
Yeah.
around that because then I
Yeah.
didn't feel safe to talk about it. And so that is really when, and then of course adrenal fatigue, all of that stuff really happened. And so I felt around 24 is really when I was okay, I need to do something about this inside of me.
Yeah. I want to say same kind of thing around 28 for me. I feel like we all hit it at our 10-year mark. Mm-hmm. We hit our careers young.
Right.
And then about 10 years in, we all kind of went, okay, I can't live at this pace of life without dealing with my pain and my triggers. And I'm not even just talking about pain and triggers from current situations. I'm talking going back and going, what am I bringing in even from childhood?
Totally.
Old
Absolutely.
fears, old insecurities. What am I constantly bringing into this current place? Because the reality is, every way that we're interacting has something to do with our past.
100%.
And if we don't deal with that, we're constantly bringing the past into the present, and we're constantly creating these cycles.
Yeah, the mirrors just
Oh my
show
gosh.
up everywhere.
And so it shows up in all our relationships. And so we keep, you see these people do that, constantly break off relationships and break things off and go to try to start a new life. I think it's because they're trying to get away of this cycle that they keep bringing into every current relationship they're in.
100%.
And then going, why is this following me? Well, honey, it's inside of you.
Yeah.
And it will follow you till the day you die. And I just knew I had lived different seasons of life, and I started noticing, by 28, how many seasons could you live? But I did a lot. I feel like we did a lot early on in our lives. We're raised in families that are like, go get them, go out and, go do something great in the world. So we're all raised by parents that are very much into that. Go out, we
Changing
support
the
you,
world.
change the world. Yeah. So from a very young age, we were all doing things. And so in all those seasons, I started just being honest and going, fear has followed me everywhere I've gone. And having a measure of success did not silence that. It actually only
it magnifies
made it.
it.
Oh my
100%.
gosh.
Right.
It's like, it is like putting a magnifying glass over something. It actually makes it worse. And all the insecurities you had, the moment you have success and different things come in, it's like, it's so much bigger. And I did notice it near the end. I just was like, I want to be able to live in a mountaintop season and in a valley season and still be the same kind of happy and still be the same kind of peaceful. And I wanted to feel strong in spite of trials. And I didn't want it to be like, okay, grit my teeth, I'm going to get out of this, and then I'll be peaceful, and then I'll be happy. And, like you
Or
said,
when the situation ends, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Like when the chaos stops, then I'll be good.
oh my gosh. And I felt I was at a crossroad. I felt that I could either go into, you kind of feel the temptation of going, let's look at this pain. Let's look at this chaos I'm feeling. Who caused this? There's
Yes.
a temptation to go,
100%.
whose
That's
chaos
it.
is
Yes.
this really?
Yeah. Or is it the devil?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly,
Yes.
being
Yeah.
in Christian homes,
Yeah.
that could be an easy, like,
You're like, oh,
it's
this is-
Satan. Stomp out the devil.
Right.
Like, get rid of
Right.
it.
But
But
a lot of binding. all
oh
the
my
time.
God.
Binding it.
That anxiety, I bind it. That
Guess
fear,
what? Didn't work.
honey, you can bind that all day long. You need some sessions. You need a
Right?
You're
therapist.
anxious because it's not leaving.
Right.
It just adds on
Right?
top of it.
So then you're like,
Darn it, the devil
there's so
loves me.
much devil. There's so much devil.
I must have a really strong calling on my life.
Oh my gosh,
because he's
I
really
must-
at it.
Right? What door did I open? Maybe there's
Right?
movies in the house that open the door to this devil causing anxiety.
Is
in
it
my
because I
life.
listen to secular music?
That NSYNC song.
Ah, that's the one. You know what? For me, it was Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
That one got me.
Yeah, you just opened
Really
that door.
filled with
Same
it.
was like, hello, Lauren.
Here I am. He's like, got a top hat on.
Well, so many people just turned off this podcast.
I know. I know. Everybody's like, what? What have they done?
But there is a temptation to go, and I felt that. There was a temptation to go, oh, I could blame this. Gosh, I could blame this on my parents. I could blame this on, that one situation from my past. I could blame this. You start going through going, okay, I either dive into this or maybe I find my scapegoat, burn the house down and move on, which you see a lot of people doing.
Yeah.
A lot.
All the time.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Well, that's the culture. That's how people, get in and out of relationships, like you were saying earlier,
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it which only creates more chaos.
Yeah.
I know.
You could be on such a perfect journey, and usually at that breaking point is usually if you push past that.
Oh
Yes.
is
Yep.
usually where the freedom's
Yeah.
at,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But how many of us stop short because we don't want to believe that there is something inside of us
could be contributing to this moment.
that actually is us.
Right.
Because then that requires full responsibility. And I think full responsibility, yes, here's the thing. If Alyssa bumps me and I don't have an open wound on my arm, it's not going to hurt as much. But if I have an open wound that I have not taken care of, that I have not healed, that I have not done the work, if she bumps me, it's excruciating.
Right.
So then I'm going to blame her and punch her
Hey, you
because
should.
she hit me and that's her fault. Well, you know what? If I would have taken care of the wound, the bump wouldn't have hurt that much.
Right,
And the
right.
wound is on me to heal. And it's like, that is how I see those things. But so many people believe, well, if you didn't bump me, it wouldn't have hurt me. So
Right,
it's your
right.
so I have to get rid of you
Yes.
because you bumped me. So
Yeah.
get out of my life. So
Yeah.
let's get, it's everywhere right now. Like if the chaos in the world would just stop, I'd be at peace. But I want to challenge you that you can be at peace in the chaos.
Right.
You don't have to wait till things are over to feel peace. You can feel them now. You can be happy now. You can be dreaming now.
preach it, girl.
I will,
girl.
Gonna break something, but it's like
Why?
because that just like emphasizes my passion.
Pause for chaos.
Yes, but I am peaceful. So it's like, but there shouldn't be. We shouldn't give ourselves so many excuses of why we need to stay in that chaos or that pain, or if I just got rid of something, then I would be happy. That is not 100% true. Now, if it's an abusive situation, if it's
Yeah.
something like that, we are not
Disclaimer.
talking.
Disclaimer.
Serious disclaimer.
Total
here.
disclaimer.
I'm not talking chaos like you're in an abusive relationship. And I want to clarify abusive. A lot of people, which is a little bit offensive recently, I'm hearing, are using the word abusive on relationships that have petty issues.
Yeah.
And they're saying, you're abusing me. Why? Well, and when you break it down, it's because their opinion is different than yours. It's because they don't look and act exactly like you. Guys, I'm here to say that is not abuse.
No.
That is life.
And that's a trigger.
And that is a trigger that
And you
you're
should
going to
look
need to
at
deal
that.
with. But let's a real abuse. These kind of things that we're talking about do not apply to that.
No.
I am not
Absolutely
saying
not.
stay in a situation where you're being harmed. You
No.
need to get out of there. You need to call someone. You are not their rescuer. You are not their savior. It is time to just go. And so these things that we're talking about, the chaos, the triggers, we're talking about those petty things. Those kind of, and I don't mean to diminish it by saying petty, but I mean, when you look at the reality of the suffering in the world, these things are kind of petty. You know, and so to kind of heal through them and to go, I don't want to be mad at someone because they bumped up against me. I want to take care of this. I want to heal this wound. And I don't want to kick you out of my life because you disagree with me. I want to learn to communicate and have loving discussions. So yes, definitely disclaimer.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer.
We are not talking about that kind of chaos.
So let's take the current events that we are in right now.
Yeah.
We are in a very chaotic world right now on the outside. Now, I believe either people are absorbing it and believing that it's a part of them, which then only adds to the chaos, or, and just a question, is it because the chaos that's been going inside of all of us for so long, are we actually releasing
this?
that and creating chaos? And then is it just this cycle?
Part of me kind of
Totally.
feels
You know?
like we as Americans are birthing this moment.
Oh, absolutely.
That we as the world are all contributing to this moment. And what I believe I hear and what I'm feeling is each person's inner world is demanding to be heard, their truest selves, their need for, I want to feel loved. I want to feel like I'm a part of something.
I wanna feel taken
like
care of.
I'm taken care of. I
want to feel safe.
Yes, and you just hear it. You hear it in all the things that are happening, and I'm noticing it. And we have to learn to listen beyond what we're being told. Listen to people's hearts. Listen to what they're saying. I don't think it's a lot more than what we're seeing right now. It's more than meets the eye, and I think it's learning one to just have a discussion and have just a real heart-to-heart conversation, but to listen to each person, to listen to maybe what they're really asking for, and to kind of help calm the chaos even in others is, I also believe, part of our job. Because even in a conversation, if someone's spinning and freaking out, well, the last thing I want to do is not want to do, because my ego goes, fine, I can do that too. I can shout too. I can scream too. And you want to rise up and kind of meet them at that level. But if you stay down here and just help bring a calm to the moment, and don't be belittling and don't be whatever, but have a calm in the moment and go, I want to hear what you're really trying to tell me. I want to hear what you're really trying to get off your chest.
It's genuinely being able to listen and leading in kindness, because if we're all just adding to the chaos, then it's just, we're going to explode. But it's like, who is going, like, I feel like in these moments in chaos, it's when you just breathe. Yeah. It's when you just remember that, one, everything is going to be okay. And even in my own chaos, in my personal chaos, it's like, that's what I have to do. I went, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be grateful in these moments. And that's one thing that I've really learned. And I know that we've talked about that before too, is in moments of chaos, in moments of fear, in moments of panic, how am I grateful? Because I feel like that is a really good antidote for me in chaos, in negativity, in those places, is going, what can I be grateful for? Even when I'm talking to a person that I feel is causing me chaos, that I feel is causing me chaos, but really the chaos is in me. I go, how can I, what do I love about that person? Yeah. How can I be grateful for that person? Yeah. How can I think the best of that person? Right. Even if I feel like they're causing me to be anxious or causing me to be whatever, I feel like gratitude for me has been a very big key, even the way I don't have to demonize people that I feel like are causing chaos in my life. And I just feel like that is a big thing for me.
Yeah. I agree. I think a big part too is realizing just in the collective, what's going on right now is chaos has to happen. Yeah. So
tell us why, girl, because I'm here for it.
Even within us. Yeah. We wouldn't know that there were things to face unless there was something loud enough to catch our attention. Yep.
Oh, yes.
And so within this time right now, there has to be this busting up and this chaos for us to collectively look at something's not working. Yeah. There has to be a change. Yeah. And there has to be a change within us personally, and there has to be a change within us collectively. Yeah. And so if we are just numbing it out, trying to ignore it, anything like that, instead saying, okay, here it is. Yeah. What is it about this moment right now that we need to look dead in the eyes? Yeah. And say, okay, I am ready for surgery. Yes. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because it has chosen this time. Yes. Yep. Right now. Yeah. Yeah. And so that in that and even within myself personally, when these moments of chaos happen, you know, there's so many tools. You know, mainly my tool is meditation and feeling through things. Yeah. But it's like, okay, what is that emotion that's coming up right now? Okay, I'm going to feel it. And I do it while I'm driving, not meditating. But I mean, I kind of meditate.
You close your eyes and stuff?
Get into that explains so much. All of those car accidents. Okay.
Literally everything.
We will talk about this later.
I purposely cause chaos in my life. I love what I can so much. But I just, you know, I get into those moments where I'm like, oh God, this anxiety or whatever. And I'm like, okay, where is that right now? Oh, where is it hitting in my body? Yeah. Where is it hitting, you know, whatever, that I just spend the time to feel it through my entire body. Yeah. Because I think that's the thing, is even in this moment where it's like, oh God, like what's going to happen within, you know, is the economy going to collapse? Right. Yeah. What am I fearing if the economy collapses? Yeah. What alarm goes off in my body? Where is it in my body? You know? Yeah. And can I spend time to face that and feel it? And do I need to do things to prepare, or do I need to just what is the trigger in me that I need to face?
It's really being a student of yourself. Right. Yeah. That is how you begin this journey. And it's like what you just said. It's like what all three of us finally did, is we finally looked at the chaos, the symptoms of our life, and went, okay, it's time to look it dead in the eye. It's time to be a student of myself, to figure out, why am I here? Right. What is going on? Because I think you have to make a choice. Do you really want to live in panic? Do you really want to live in constant reactions, just reacting to what's going on around you? I was so sick of that. I was so sick of reacting to good or bad, you know, whatever it was, I didn't want to react anymore. I love it. Don't react, learn to respond. But I don't think you can respond until you've learned to be a student of yourself, till you know your triggers and you know what you're capable of. And then once you begin to process that, and I don't think you ever get to I know you don't ever get to the place where like, boom, there I am. I'm enlightened. Like, I feel like the more I've done this, the more I'm like, wow.
I will never
Wow.
stop. Like this journey,
No.
you don't stop.
You don't stop. But there's a beauty in just becoming a student of yourself. Right. Becoming a student, like you said, you can do it all day long. Yeah. And I noticed when I started doing that a few years ago now, it really helps take that fight or flight component out of the equation. Because when something comes, it's that alarm. Like you said, the economy's going to crash. Well, that's this alarm going off in the back of your head. And then suddenly you have an opportunity. You have a choice. Do I numb out with let's just drugs, alcohol, binge watch, whatever?
Because that's a very valid fear. That's not something like
fear.
we should not be fearing.
No.
That's not like you should meditate that away. Like, no, like, we're not saying that. Like, that is a valid thing. Yes. But so if it does,
what's going to happen?
who am I in that moment?
If this storm comes, what will my reaction look like? Right. That's why we do the work here.
Yes.
Because it allows you to stop living life on the defense. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we've learned to live on the offense. Yes. We've learned to happen to life instead of, and here's the reality, life will always throw things your way. There will be shocking moments till the day you die.
You're going to get knocked down
I did not see that coming.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
But it's about when you get knocked down, you look at, okay, this thing happened. It was inevitable. I couldn't stop it. I can't do anything about the fact that it happened. Did it have any hooks in me? How am I responding? How do I need to see? You just hit it from every angle. And I see, especially I think being raised in the church, a lot of times being in the church, that kind of living is very looked down on because they think somehow Jesus is out of that equation. If you spend the time wrestling with moments, wrestling with yourself, with your inner world, somehow Jesus is not in that picture. And I don't understand that.
Or even to say that if something bad happens in life, that somehow you caused it.
Right.
Because somehow I caused it because I wasn't praying hard enough. I'm not close to God enough.
Yes.
Or like all of those things. So it's
a lot of times I've been told you open the door for the enemy.
Right.
Or what's in your life.
Right.
Oh
my gosh.
I'm like.
But the last thing you want to hear from a believer when tragedy hits is, hey man, you caused that.
Yeah.
But then that goes to say, how awful is God then?
Yeah, exactly.
Is God just a big, awful thing in the sky? Like, oh, what? She opened the door, bam, bam, and I'm like hurt you and ruin things in your life. And it's like, that's not God.
Where's grace? Where's mercy? Also,
where's kindness and love?
Right?
I feel like God does use finger guns. Bam, bam. That's like his go-to,
man,
and I'm so close to him.
Say that was the greatest God impression I've ever heard.
I really harnessed him.
You nailed it.
And his energy,
pew, pew.
And I used my left hand finger gun. Nailed it.
Again, the rest of the people that stayed on just turned it off now.
You're like, God's using
emails,
finger guns? Oh no. I'm going to find a verse about that and send it to her.
Oh my God.
But I think there is a piece, there is one, the most tragic thing that I believe, and it's not just in the church, but I do believe that so many people offer to others is when they're in pain and suffering or tragedy or chaos, we somehow kind of go, you deserved it. See, it was coming for you eventually. Like that one, or we do that to ourselves. That's got to be off the table. Yeah.
Then feeling shame because something bad happened, or I'm feeling chaos, or I'm feeling anxious. Then we heap shame on ourselves, and then it's like then you're never going to get anywhere.
Well, and a really good example of that is I've been in multiple car accidents where I probably in LA. Alone 5 car accidents, and 2 of them hit and runs. Like one,
you did the hit and run.
Hit and run.
Cool. Do we have to blur your face out now?
My voice is really low now. It changes over now.
They'll never know.
They already saw your face, so FBI, if you're looking for a redhead,
She's here.
that does a lot of hit and runs. You found her on somewhere in the in-between.
Had cut. So, but I was so taught for so long, or just whatever comes out of the church in that mindset, that I have a door open, or I've done something that allowed that. And I finally, after the last one, I really started being like, wait a second, what is kind of buzzing on the inside of me that each of these scenarios kind of is calling out in a way.
Wow.
And I realized the level of fear that I've been carrying in my body is so gnarly. And from that, I actually faced head on my fear, like issues with my mom and fear within our relationship, and kind of as far back as like our family, like just went so deep with it. And when I decided to face it and look at it and be like, wait, there's something here. So there's an alarm that just keeps trying to go off. And these scenarios, like I do believe in energy as far as these different scenarios. Like we do draw in our mirrors. We draw in these things that are trying to say, hey, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even in that, it's not, I don't believe that like God caused it or I opened the door or whatever. I just really, truly believe that there's something calling out to me to say, face this. And I wasn't looking, it took something more dramatic where I stayed safe. But it took like, hey, this is something that you need to move forward in life, and whatever this is holding you back. And so I just really, when I did start facing that, and it's the same kind of thing with some injuries too, where it's just like, okay, why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
What is the message?
Yeah.
You know? And I really, really strongly believe that, that I think there's something to it.
I do. I believe something my aunt taught me is she just said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And in life, like you said, I love when you said, the chaos is here. It's like we needed it. It's like we needed to become awake again.
Yes.
We needed to awaken to something inside of all of ourselves, inside of this collective. We needed to awaken to something.
Right.
And maybe it's because we are all ready to learn something. And so the teacher is the chaos.
Right.
The teacher is going, I'm here. Will you look at me and will you learn what you need to learn? Because in this, you are going to become, if you allow it, the greatest version of yourself that you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
If you take it and go, I am not afraid of you. I'm not going to let you dictate how I act and how I think. I'm going to learn who I am in the middle of this chaos. And you can just become an upgraded version of yourself if you allow the pain, the chaos to teach you.
I think if you ignore it too, either it gets worse,
Oh yeah.
or you numb it out to the point that then there's some sort of burst that is later on in life. And that's why you see, I feel like, all these like midlife crisis scenarios.
Or sickness and different things.
Yes, a lot of sickness. I think a lot of that is just the stored emotion in different ways. So it's like, may as well. Just, you know what?
We're here.
It's easier in the increments.
We're here.
Right? Then,
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I always see it. Like, why not now?
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
But I think the first thing that has to be let go of is the need for a scapegoat. I think we need to know it's messy. Like, I mean, when we started, it's messy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember
It
sitting
totally
with people.
It gets worse before it gets better.
Oh
my gosh.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, it's like you look at the chaos and it's building and building and you're having all these symptoms and you're reacting different ways when you're out with people and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like that
Especially
person
you're
I'm
more
being.
aware all of a sudden.
Right.
So you're like, oh God.
Right? Can I hide?
Yeah.
So then, and then after that, when you're like, okay, I'm going to look at it. You think you're going to be like one session and you're going to be like, I'm amazing. I'm fearless. I'm healed. And you're like, oh my gosh, with each session,
Yeah.
I became more and more beautifully undone.
Yeah.
But even what happens is you begin to take away those protectors that you've been
Yeah.
building up around your chaos, because you don't want to have to look at it, and you don't want people to have to see it, and you don't want to have to see it because, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? So you put a little protector here, a little protector here, and you just start to build these walls around it. And the beginning part of this yielding to chaos being a teacher is you first take down your walls. And as you take down your walls, you take down all the things that keep you from looking so messy and undone. And it is terrifying because I love looking put together. Loved. I don't really care about it that much anymore. But I'm very type A. I'm very driven. I love showing up, looking put together, kind of like nailing it, drop the mic, bye-bye. Like I've been that way since I was a kid. And I love
You're very
accomplishing
type A,
things.
very-
very
Yeah.
high strung. Not as much anymore. And I know working with me is not a walk in the park because I know that part kicks in. But as I let go of those walls, just that very, very much undone part of me started to be seen. That part of me I wanted to hide. That part of me that isn't super type A. And that's kind of like, I don't know, like is very messy.
Yeah.
And so then you have your chaos because that didn't go away. Then you have your mess. And then I remember we would get together with people sometimes in the beginning of our season. True me fashion, I like literally got on the phone with a few people after and I was like, I am so sorry. I'm such a bummer at a dinner party. Like my chaos is up. I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. And here thinking people are going to just judge me and be like, yeah, bye-bye. Like you're super obnoxious now. Right away, everyone met me with so much grace and was like, well, we thought you were a little undone and we love this version of you. We have been
Yes.
waiting for this girl to come out for a
Yeah.
long time. Like people that love you are going to be on board in a moment.
But it's gonna be hard too, because there was people for me that I lost some people during the
Did
time.
you?
Yeah, for sure. Because
because you were messy?
because I was messy. Absolutely.
Wait, was it because you wanted to have like deep conversation or just because you...
Yeah, I mean, especially in the first breaking, like,
Whoa.
because for me, I'm such an external processor.
Oh,
yes.
And so,
Hence our
Which
podcast.
is why this
so
works.
when we would talk, we would get together and talk, and that was great. Because
Were you trying to hold my hand?
Yes.
Hello.
Guys, I'm so left out. No, I'm not. Don't touch me.
But that was a thing, is that I did try to. There was a lot of emotional moments for
yeah.
me, and trying to externally process it with people versus just kind of, there was a lot of stuff that I was avoiding facing just within myself that I needed to process first. And it helps so much to go talk to people. But I think after a while, it was I was burning people out. And that was hard to all of a sudden in my darkest time, starting to lose people.
Wow.
And so that was really hard for me because I would call my dad and he's like, well, Sarah, you've got to realize, like, yes, you've done like 5 amazing sessions where you're starting to see stuff. But not only is so now you have all this chaos buzzing at the top that you've just dug up. But then you also have what you were already dealing with.
Yeah.
That was bringing this stuff up. And so it was the hardest time and stuff that I'm still processing through.
Yeah.
But it's so so I think people all have different stories even in
Absolutely.
going into that.
Right.
There's going to be
Yes.
people that are unconditionally supportive. And then there's going to be people who are like, I expect you to be this way.
Yep.
Right.
I don't want to hear one
We
more
want party fun,
conversation.
Sarah.
Yeah.
We don't want the undone
Yeah.
going through my deep darkness,
Right.
Sarah.
And and like you were saying, like I didn't feel like I had a lot to bring to the table, especially when you're so introspective and all of a sudden you realize everything within you and you realize how you're maybe even communicating to people or whatever that might be. All of a sudden you're like so in your head versus being as present. And I think I finally had to commit to the season.
Wow.
I had to actually just be like, you know what? I'm shutting everything off.
Yes. Yep.
I literally laid in my bed for 6 months.
Wow.
Wow.
and meditated for 6 months because I was like, you know what? Especially being such an extrovert.
Yeah.
Especially at the time. Like,
Yeah.
I had to be around people all the time. And all of a sudden, to let that go, and that was one of the biggest things that was causing me so many issues, was like always like feeling FOMO and like being like, why did they leave me out? You know, like and finally releasing all of that. And instead people would be like, come on out. I'm like, nope. I'm in this right now.
Wow.
And but it was weird because it kind of chose me in a way, you know, like where I was like, I can't do anything else. I've got to stop feeling this way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can't sit in this misery anymore, you know?
And I think giving yourself to it, that was a huge shift for us as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where, you know, once you get a few months in, you go, okay, I remember us talking going, I think we're a little bit too messy right now to keep going and trying to do normal life with people.
Right. Yeah.
And we didn't, by any means, we weren't like kicking people out. We were just like, everyone knew we just needed a moment, and still texting and calling. But like you said, as far as like the normal everyday kind of day in, day out, like life with people, our circle got real small. And more so that we could truly focus on this beautiful undoing. And I know for me, I use the word undoing because I feel like for me, it was an undoing unto an awakening. But it was kind of me first undoing all of my walls and getting rid of all the ego and all of that. And then this kind of rebuilding and this emerging of who I really am. But it's messy and it takes time. Yeah. And you need to position yourself however you need to position yourself to get there. Yes. And it's a lot of reading different books from different healers and teachers and a lot of different just meditating. I love turning on like really soft music and just meditating on what I need to look at or on an emotion or a feeling and just kind of processing through, do I need a session on this? Where is this still linking to a feeling from my past? Why does it keep showing up in my present? I mean, there's so many ways, and I know we're going to dive more into as we kind of journey in this podcast more into our journey of the different ways of healing and of becoming a student of yourself. But yeah, for me, like just sometimes just for a moment, like when something comes up, you know, especially in these next few months, like just be quiet for a minute. Just sit in silence. Yeah. Be a student of what you just felt. And without blaming yourself or anyone around you, learn to like, sometimes I see myself like hugging that part of myself, or even if the emotion's ugly or whatever, it's my way of going, I don't judge this moment. I don't reject this moment anymore. I receive it to teach me what I need to learn so that maybe I can fully release it or let it emerge into something else. Yes. And just, that doesn't happen in noise. That happens in when you get away for a minute. That happens in silence. Yeah. And I think that's why we're pretty obsessed with noise right now, because I don't think we all really want to know what's really going on inside of us. Yeah. It would be easier for us to say, well, it's that person or that group of people. They're the ones creating the chaos. And I'm like, guys,
if you're so mad and so triggered,
I know,
there's
it's
stuff
all of
still
us.
going on.
It's all of us.
Yeah.
And just take those moments of silence and to just learn to be a student and to acknowledge it and to receive it and to go, okay. And my biggest thing was in the beginning of all this, I get real frustrated with timelines because I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go into my darkness and I'm going to inner heal, and in 6 months, I'm going to be back on the mountaintop.
Totally.
Like, I'm gonna be, guys, I give myself a 6-month window.
Gosh. That's my favorite. That was my window too. I'm like, 6 months, that's it. Because you go, my life is genuinely like, our life is great. We have, early success, all that stuff. That didn't mean anything. I still had chaos that needed to be taken care of.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
6 months.
That 6 month window
laughable.
Was a joke.
Yeah.
And I started getting really frustrated around month 7 because I'm like, I am not keeping up with my vision for my life, my timeline, this internal whatever the heck that is.
It might go on for forever.
Oh my gosh! Like you think I'm walking into these woods, I might get lost in here.
Yeah.
Like who's going to guarantee I can get out? Because there weren't too many teachers. And this was 10 years ago. You see a lot of books now on it, but I didn't see that
Yeah,
many then. I
no.
really had to go searching
Definitely.
for teachings about this.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest phrases that's really helped me, especially with how I'm wired, is I would look at the chaos in my life and I would look that it wasn't dwindling and it wasn't going as quickly as I wanted it to, or I wasn't becoming this enlightened being this overnight. And one day I just heard this phrase in my head and I just went, oh, I surrender to the process. I surrender to the moment.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things I learned, instead of panicking about a timeline and instead of panicking about when, who will I become through this, and what is the person I'm going to become, and are people going to like me, and just all the things.
Or am I
going to
feel this forever?
Am I gonna
that's
get
a scary
lost
thing. Am I going to
here?
get lost
You
here?
see a lot of people maybe get lost here.
Yeah. Well, you could be like,
Um,
I've focused so much on this for so long.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Right,
give up.
right.
Which no.
That one of the biggest things I just really felt, and that really has kept me anchored to this journey, and that this journey that's going to now forever, I realize, be constant. We will always be emerging. We will always be awakening. We will always be growing. But just learning to simply go when I'm most frustrated and my most panicked, I just stop and I open my hands and I go, I surrender to this process. Because I keep my eye on the prize, and I know that I want to be able to feel peaceful in the midst of chaos. I want to be able to feel joyful in the midst of great pain and betrayal. And so when I remind myself of, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to be able to be in chaos, but literally be a conduit of peace, so that when people get around me, because we always say, be the change you want to see in the world. What does that mean?
Yeah.
This is what that means.
Yeah.
That I want to be able to walk into a chaotic moment, into a chaotic season, and I want to be able to bring peace.
Set the temperature.
And I want to be able to bring
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to betrayal and to judgment. That if it doesn't start with us, who are we waiting for? It's like we're all yelling, you do it. No. It starts with me.
It is.
Let's own it.
We're waiting for the people around us to change.
Yeah.
The situations to change in the world. So then we feel peace. And what you're saying is exactly what needs to be done. Absolutely not. Even if nothing changes, I will change.
Yes.
And then I will be that light that goes out into the world where I feel it's dark and where I feel it's chaos. I will re-enter that room, that place, and I, by being there, will shift it. And hopefully it will catch on.
So
Yeah.
other people can be free.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because if we own it, this is about ownership and responsibility. It doesn't start when I grab you by the collar and go, if you would just treat me differently.
Yes, yes,
No.
yeah.
If I would think differently, if I maybe the love you're withholding from me is meant so that I learn to love myself more.
Right.
I'm going to take this moment and use it for my benefit, not to keep working against me.
Right. Well, and I think that's exactly it, because where you're saying you're going into these situations,
Yeah.
when you've faced your stuff,
Yep.
and then you go in. So number one, you're not coddling people anymore.
Right.
So you're allowing them to face their stuff then.
Yep.
So not only are you know, we for so long have protected everybody from feeling these things.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, not only are we bringing peace and love and like setting the temperature, but we're also allowing other people
Yes.
to go into theirs.
Yes.
You know? And but when they come around us, they can still feel love, whatever, but they might start feeling triggered at times that maybe we never allowed them to feel triggered.
Yeah.
And so we might
We will dive into some more
we might
podcasts
be
on this, because
yes,
this subject,
exactly,
Oh, yeah.
I have to
exactly.
tell you,
Yes.
just like you are right on, because the moment I started kind of showing up in certain areas that I
Yeah.
never showed up in, because I never wanted, and it's not me being like, I'm a total horrible person, so when I show up and I'm mean. No, I'm talking like when I show up just in my
Confidence.
full
Yeah.
self and in confidence, I noticed I would diminish myself around people who are
Yes.
maybe more insecure,
Yes.
because I never wanted them to feel triggered.
Yep.
Or someone that has a really big issue with extravagant love. Oh my gosh, I would just dance around the subject, dance around that person. And when I began to show up a little bit more and go, no, I am a person who loves extravagantly, and I'm not going
Yeah.
to apologize anymore. And I'm a person that actually likes to have deep conversations. It massively triggers people
Yeah.
that I've spent my life trying to help them not be triggered.
Yes.
But I'm sure we will do that in another podcast, because
yes, exactly.
huge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was huge for me.
Yeah.
That kind of caused a lot of my life to derail.
Yeah.
So, but it's still worth it.
Right.
I have
It
to say
is.
it's still fully worth it.
I think one of the biggest things for me that I learned at the start of my whole kind of awakening was in how to really practically face this head on, even before we start going, before I started doing any type of inner healing or meditation or anything like that, was practicing feeling through the entire emotion.
Yeah.
So let's take the economy, for example. Maybe it's fear. So, okay, where in my body do I feel, or what is the emotion? Okay, where do I feel it in my body? And then literally sit there in your chair, or like I said, I do this even sometimes when I'm driving, but I will literally imagine feeling that emotion physically in every single one of my cells.
Wow.
So you're facing it head on, and it actually disperses within usually half a minute to a minute, sometimes quicker, sometimes longer. But it's the weirdest thing, because when I know it releases, it's kind of tingly a little bit. It's almost euphoric. So here it's like we're so terrified of these emotions and these feelings and all this, but instead there's a release at the end that's like kind of heavenly in a way,
Yeah.
And so I literally do this all the time now. Is that when I'll be interacting with people or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, I feel this type of anxiety coming up, or I feel this type of rejection. Okay, I feel rejected, feel it throughout my body. I'm not afraid of rejection. I'm facing it. But it's the feeling, I feel like it's hard to explain literally feeling it, but you actually are imagining it throughout your entire body. Like, what does rejection truly feel like?
Wow.
And it's not putting it aside. It's literally completely feeling it.
Well, because so often these things can feel like they're controlling you
Yes.
or overtaking
Right. Yeah.
you.
And when
but
you
when
face it-
you flip, you're flipping it. What
Yeah.
it sounds like to me is you're
Yeah.
flipping the conversation.
Yeah.
And you're saying, no, you're just a feeling.
Yes.
You're simply a feeling. Yes, it could be based in reality, could be based, obviously everything's based in some kind of memory of something that happened. But for you to just say, I acknowledge you, I'm feeling you, like, I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to run from it. You
grab
can't.
onto you anymore.
Because I think the resistance creates a bigger
resistance
tension.
It does.
Is
Right?
That's what it is.
And that's what I did with
the
fear.
resistance is the pain.
Yes.
Itself.
Yes.
But too, if you think about it, like when you're saying feel it in your body, I would give
Yeah.
a practical thing of going, when I feel something in my body, I'll feel like my throat tighten up. Say I'm in a situation where I feel I can't speak up. I'll literally feel my throat tighten up, and then that's usually the feeling that you work with. Or then if I'm scared about something, I'll usually feel it like in my stomach. Or if I'm anxious about something, I'll feel that that ball in the pit of my stomach, and that's the feeling. It's an actual feeling that you feel.
Yes.
So it's not like to me that's just the practical of going when you're talking about feeling it in your body. You know when you tense up. You know what it feels like. And usually people have a place like, oh, my heart hurts. Oh, my throat tightens up. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, those kinds of things. Like it's an actual feeling, but then you take it one step further and go, no. I'm not a victim of that feeling. Now I'm going to feel all of it. Because I'm not going to resist it or be afraid of it.
Exactly.
And that's huge.
And it's literally like, say, rejection. It's like, oh, this is what rejection feels like. I know what rejection feels like. I'm going to spread it through my body.
Right.
I'm going to feel that same feeling that I feel, whether in my gut or my heart or whatever, in every cell.
Well, because reality is it's already there. You're just acknowledging it.
Yeah, and so it's maybe just imagining it or picturing that and spending that time actually letting it like fully, like, oh, I feel, it's in part imagination, but it's really every single time when it releases, it has this little like buzz, and it's crazy.
That's awesome.
But then it can't hold on to you anymore.
No, because then once again, you are not a victim.
Yes,
You're a student of it.
You're a student of what is going on, and that whatever your first step is, whatever the first step is to take, when you realize that you're ready to be a student.
Yes.
You're no longer a victim because you know that freedom is possible. And that is our heart for every person, because that was the step that we took.
And I agree with what you said. When the student is ready, the teacher
appears.
appears. The teacher is here, folks.
Oh.
Will
Chaos
you learn?
is here.
Yes.
Let's dive in it together. Let's talk about some ways to view it. And let's open up our lives, our stories, and maybe even hear stories from other people. But let's have
start this conversation.
The conversation the three of us have been having for 10 years now.
Yep.
Let's have this conversation and see where it takes us.
Yep.
But I believe it will lead us into awakening of love and peace and powerful people if we let chaos be the teacher it is meant to be.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for joining us. And for those of you who are left, thanks for not turning it off.
Thanks for staying.
you.
Right?
Mom.